Serving first, the union movement, which wanted a 7% increase to the minimum wage in line with inflation. Its opponent, the business groups, which lobbied for less than a 4% pay rise. Anything more, they said, could fuel a wage price spiral. Which brings us to the umpire, the Fair Work Commission. Defying market expectations, it went large. Announcing that from July 1st, well over 2.5 million award wage workers will score a 5.75% boost to their pay packets, nearly $47 a week. And thanks to an historic classification change for around 180,000 of our lowest paid workers on minimum wage, the rise will be an even larger 8.6%. The unions are pretty chuffed.
It's a hell of a lot more than what the employers argued for.
Reality is when all of the costs go up, wages need to go up as well. This is less than inflation. It means a real wage cut for those workers, and every business person out there should recognise that.
But as for employers...
No, that makes no sense.
They say it'll put jobs and businesses at risk.
It's a bit of a kick in the guts for a lot of small business owners out there. The price you pay for a cup of coffee is going to be higher if the cost of employing that person is now higher as well.
Oh, the way you see it, the way you see it. That's ridiculous.
We would certainly say that this does increase the risk that this will feed back into inflation.
But the government rejected claims the call could drive inflation and in turn prompt an RBA hike next Tuesday.
I find it dreadful with all the different inflationary pressures that are out there, some international, that some people want to just argue somehow it's workers' fault, and particularly the workers who are reliant on the award system and the minimum wage.
So, who will prove the real winners and losers from this epic wage set match?
Seriously, you two!
To help us make sense of it, Paul Zara is from the Australian Retailers Association. He joins us now. Paul, business groups are calling this a hammer blow. Why?
Well, look, first up, I say we accept the decision today and we've always argued for a fair wage increase. It's because of the sustainability and the significance of this increase will have a deep impact on small business in particular. We've got the superannuation guarantee increase happening on the 1st of July at the same time. And on top of that, small businesses struggling with leasing cost increases, supply chain increases and energy cost increases. So it's the perfect storm. And unfortunately, it's going to be an absolute dagger for many small businesses in this country.
Paul, I think we all know that when you have a cost of living crisis like we have at the moment, that disproportionately affects people at the lower income end of the spectrum. So there'll be people watching tonight thinking, OK, this is great. I'm going to get at last a bit of a pay rise that's going to help in this moment. Can you explain the argument about why that might then lead to job losses?
Well, look, it comes down to the fact that this increase is the biggest wage increase since the Fair Work Commission started. So it's a big increase. It's a 6.25% increase if you include the superannuation increase. So that's quite sizable. This is for the general retail award, which is what the retail industry operates off. Now, many small businesses operate on very slim margins and, you know, a cafe, for example, may be operating on an operating profit of about 5%. So this increase now means they've got to make some choices. They either pass the increases on to the consumers, so there's some sensitivity obviously in that area, or they've got to reduce hours, reduce jobs or reduce their trading hours or go out of business altogether. So this is where today's a big day. Most businesses are now working through what this particular decision means for them.
Retailers such as Myer and Kmart have reported some pretty big profits recently. Surely they can absorb this?
Well, look, I'm not going to speak to each individual company. We have a very broad membership at the Australian Retailers Association. We go from hairdressing to hardware, from fashion to food, everything in between. The concern we have today is really around the small business community and around their ability to absorb such a high cost increase that was announced today.
The union have said today that, you know, basically what goes around comes around. You know, when minimum wage workers get pay increases, they actually go and then spend it in businesses. What do you say to that?
Look, that is true. So there's no doubt that people will spend that money. Not everyone will spend the money, but most will. So there is an argument that that would actually end up in the retail economy. The issue comes down to the operating performance of the business, their ability to have a sustainable business and be able to actually absorb those costs. At the small business end particularly, that's not quite possible. So they've got to make those tough decisions that I just mentioned. So it's a very challenging time, there's no doubt. There's a cost of living crisis, there's a cost of doing business crisis. So there's this absolute crunch that is occurring. And that's why this is such a tough call on where we land with a decision like this.
Paul, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.